Welcome to Wednesday. Today's message is titled, Wash Your Hands. I'm so tired of people telling me to wash my hands. I'm one of those people who wash their hands so often that they are chapped and raw in the wintertime. In the spring and summer, I work outside a lot and I wash my hands all the time. I have to admit that I may not follow the procedure as well as I should. So I want you to know, here is the proper way to wash your hands. Wet your hands with clean running water, warm or cold. Turn off the tap and apply soap. Avoid use of basin or standing water to prevent recontamination. Temperature of water does not affect removing microbes. With the soap applied to your hands, scrub both hands together and pay close attention to commonly missed areas. Back of hands, between fingers, and under your nails. Scrub hands together for at least 20 seconds. Rinse hands with running water. Dry hands with a clean towel or let them air dry. Now, I know some people who, if they have a chance, will be watching over your shoulder with a stopwatch to make sure you're washing your hands properly. Quite a few of these people will soon be sitting in the church again with tape measures to make sure everyone is 6 feet apart. You may be laughing at the present time at this idea, but you will soon encounter what I'm saying. So, with hand washing being pushed on us like it's some sort of religious ceremony, I realized there were some Pharisees back in the Gospels that were pretty big on hand washing also. So let's read from the scripture. Mark 7, 1 through 9. One day some Pharisees and teachers of religious law, those guys were always around, weren't they? They arrived from Jerusalem to see Jesus. They noticed some of his disciples failed to follow the Jewish ritual of hand washing before eating. The Jews, especially the Pharisees, did not eat until they had poured water over their cupped hands as required by the ancient traditions. Similarly, they don't eat anything from the market until they immerse their hands in water. This is but one of the many traditions they have clung to, such as their ceremonial washing of cups, pitchers, and kettles. So the Pharisees and teachers of religious law asked him, "Why don't your disciples follow our age-old tradition? They eat without first performing the hand-washing ceremony." Jesus replied, "You hypocrites! Isaiah was right when he prophesied about you, for he wrote, 'These people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Their worship is a farce, for they teach man-made ideas and commands from God, as commands." Let me read verse 7 again. "Their worship is a farce, for they teach man-made ideas as commands from God." Verse 8, "For you ignore God's law and substitute your own tradition." Then he said, "You skillfully sidestep God's law in order to hold on to your own tradition." Do you know anyone who subjects you to their traditions when you're around them? Do you have any traditions that you follow and then press them on the people around you? Do you ever judge others because they do not follow the same traditions that you do? Do you know people that hold your feet to the fire over some of the craziest ideas that they've made up that you're not following? Do you have any rules, regulations, commands, rituals, ceremonies, festivals, or even traditions of your own that you've made up for yourself and have found that you cannot keep your own set of traditions? I know this all sounds a bit crazy, but we're about ready to walk into a time where everyone is going to run about doing their own thing, and they're going to get fighting mad over people who do it differently, who disobey the rules. You didn't wash your hands. You didn't use your sanitizer. You're crowding my 6-foot space. Why don't you have a mask on? Then there are those who will be oblivious and take off into this new freedom as though nothing is wrong, and since I'm all right, I can do whatever I want. As you can tell, it's going to be quite a disruption for a while. I'm kind of excited to see how people will be reacting to this upcoming interaction. Now, back to the scripture, starting in verse 5 of our passage. So the Pharisees and teachers of religious law asked him, "Why don't your disciples follow our age-old tradition? They eat without first performing the hand-washing ceremony." Jesus replied, "You hypocrites, Isaiah was right when he prophesied about you, for he wrote, 'These people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Their worship is a farce, for they teach man-made ideas as commands from God. For you ignore God's law and substitute your own tradition.'" Then he said, "You skillfully sidestep God's law in order to hold on to your own tradition." Jesus came to set us free from the traditions that were keeping people from living life. I would have told you a few months ago that I was a clean freak, and I watched the things I touched. I would have told you that I am a person who does not like to be touched. I would have leaned more towards a Sheldon Cooper or a Felix Unger. If you don't know who they are, you won't understand me. But I am not as crazy about cleanliness as I thought I was. I'm not nearly as observant as I thought I was. I've been made fun of for my cleaning ideas and being, in this social distancing before social distancing was cool. But this COVID thing has made me aware of how much stuff goes by me unnoticed. I'm not going to be a Pharisee and require you to follow all my cleaning rituals, but I may be worse than I was before with my personal requirements. That's just a warning. But all the cleanliness in the world will not make you right with God. If we are not washed in the fountain of Jesus' bloodshed, we will not and cannot be right with God. So if you want to be really, really clean, washed white as snow, I'd advise you to start at the cross of Christ and then allow the Lord to deep clean you from inside out. I'll be back tomorrow.